Hello, 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 and welcome to another edition of the review with Heather's Passion Academy. And I am Heather of Heather's Passion Academy. And today we are reviewing Love and Marriage Huntsville, episode 11, season 8. And this episode is entitled Nell Raiser because, yeah, we're going to see a lot that's going on with Chris and Nell's family in this episode. I actually think this was a pretty decent episode. We didn't see the norm that we had been used to when we're talking about episodes for this particular show. We actually got some background information, and I'm actually glad for it because, to be honest, this show is well, we talk about it every time we review a show. This show is not what it used to be. It's way off base from where it started. So let's get going. So last week, we left off with Nell and the kids talking about needing to see um, a therapist or having family therapy. They wanted to really talk about not just her boundaries, but they have other issues. Again, they are kind of surrogate parents to Kiki, their niece. Um, they have quite a bit of issues with their children. As she says, they're borrowing money and not paying it back. So it's bothering her. There is a little bit of fallout between them and Lexi, which is Chris's daughter. And of course, we're not going to see her because they are no contact at this point. So we're not going to see anything about that. But the kids are just talking to her and, letting her know that therapy may be good for the entire group, since Chris um, suggested it. And she is adamant that she does not need therapy. She just need to get her money back. Maybe y'all need therapy, but I don't need no therapy like that. It sounds like they cussed her out the way she's talking about. She does not need therapy. And I'ma hold her hand. And somebody does. Now I'ma hold your hand and let you know you absolutely need therapy if it's bothering you. If it's sending you over the edge like this to even think about going to therapy, you probably need to go. And so, like, all the kids are like giving her the benefits of talking to someone because she tends to have explosive outbursts. Um, both the sons are like, listen, mama, what's wrong with just talking to somebody? Maybe, we can all learn how to relate to each other. And even Chris, kind of pipes up and says some of the same thing, like, yeah, we can benefit from talking to Dr. Francis. And, it seems like she's kind of on board at this point, but we're going to see. We're going to see. So in the next scene, we're looking at Marsau at Black. He's hanging out and Tish is goodness. These names, Tish, Trish, Destiny, Sunny, are them all the Mars. Anyway, Trish's soon to be ex husband meets him there and wants to have a little bit of a tete a tete with him. Um, y'all know how most of us feel about Marceau. Marceau don't be talking. Marceau is a pretty good chauvinist and he don't be talking right. But I will give him credit this scene that I had to agree with probably about 80 to 90% of what he was saying. And that pains me. That really pains me to have to agree with Marceau. So the ex is there and he's saying he came to apologize for getting into it with Ken at the establishment. Now Marceau said he didn't know what was going on. He didn't have no idea it was him and Ken that had the situation. Now he said he heard something was happening, but um he didn't know that it involved them. He just knew it was something going on. So this guy here, and this is what I really think. I think he likes to make a mountain out of a molehill. And I think that he likes to never take accountability, and he likes to live in victimhood. Now I ain't see him but a few times, which is on this episode. But the way he talks lets you know that he is not in a position to see himself as the problem. So anyway, this whole entire situation is a mess. So he's letting him know what happened. So Marcel was like, "Hey, I didn't know it was y'all, but just since we here, since we sitting down, we talking or whatever. What's the rundown with this relationship? What's going on with it? Y'all in a throuple or what's going on?" He's like, "Well, it's definitely not a throuple. I would say it's an entanglement." And I'm like, "Baby, she done moved on. It's not. She ain't entangled. She done moved on. There is no tangling happening. She ain't tangling with you. She done untangled with you, and she is tangled up with this other guy. So she is not looking for. She ain't. Um, she's clear on who she want to be with, and newsflash is not you." Anyway, he and Tish got married at 18, and they had their son. Her parents passed away. He admits that he was not there emotionally. He checked out because he ain't never lost a family member like that. And so he just didn't know how to have empathy. And to me, that spells out you don't care about the person you're with. Because even if you've never lost someone, you know what or how you feel just thinking about if you lost someone. And to be a person of this age to say that you just don't know, you just didn't know what to do, it falls short. Anyway, so he's going on and on about how um he wasn't really doing anything, being, physically in the house. He wasn't doing this and that, and he just kind of up and left. He went to Atlanta, and one of the reasons why he went to Atlanta is because he couldn't handle seeing Ken in the household, and he just can't understand what's going on. And see, this is the same kind of person that would do all this type of stuff, hang out, be out in the streets, ignore their family, ignore their wife, ignore their kids, and then turn around and say that they were blindsided with divorce papers. And just and you never saw it coming. It's just, I don't know what happened. And he just reminds me of them kind of people. He's convinced that Ken is a rebound, and he's been stalking her socials. He intimated that they've been basically flirting for 5 years previously before they got together. So he is saying that they been in each other's circuit, and um, basically Ken was pining away for her, even though they were still a thing. And that's what he doesn't appreciate it. And so, like, I'm just being honest. Listening to this conversation sounds like he's trying to find excuses why he doesn't like the guy, other than the fact that Trish moved on. Once he made it clear that he is checked out, that he was checked out and not interested in doing the things that spouses do as far as support is concerned, she just moved on. And once he moved out of the house, then all bets were off. And so he's mad at everybody but himself. He wants to breadcrumb this idea that she cheated. He don't think the kids um, being upset with him is the result of what he did in the household as far as leaving. Marceau is like, "Child, you left. So if your kids mad at you, they have all the rights to be mad at you. And it ain't gotta be nothing that they mama put in their head. It's that's their experience of you. And if you don't want nobody raising your kid, then don't leave." Cause he all like, cause I'm not going through this whole scene. I'm just gonna tell y'all, he had a lot of good excuses. Okay, they wasn't that good. But he's mad because the kids are mad at him, and that they have a good relationship with Ken. That really gets under his skin. He said he don't want Ken hugging his little girl and treating her like that's his child. So Marcel was like, so if she coming in having a bad day and looking for a hug, you don't want him to hug her? He said, "Nah, tell her to call me." And that's what I'm talking about. These type of dudes, whether they in or out the relationship, that kind of person is not looking to make sure that his children are happy and well cared for. He just want to be a problem. Because if you're done with your ex and they now are in a healthy, happy relationship, and you see that your children are healthy and happy in this new relationship, and you don't see anything that gives you red flags, why are you upset that they are bonding with this man that will soon be their mother's husband, will be their stepfather, another parent figure, another adult that they can trust and rely on? Get you some business, child, because we don't have time for this. Anyway, um, Marcel tells him he needs to have a conversation with Ken. And the first thing he needs to do is thank him for picking up where he left off. Because this guy has apparently purchased a car for the teenager. He's taking them on trips out of the country. He's really doing the things that you would hope that a parent or a step parent would step in and do for your children. Get over yourself, boy. Anyway, Marceau told him, swallow that pride and get himself together and make this stuff work. Now, I don't know what happened in the Scott brothers. Like, I know that they said it was 8 of them, and basically their mom ended up raising them as a single mother. I don't know if they ever had a stepfather. I think I could go back and look and see if she end up having someone in their life. But the way he was speaking, though, is kind of, it sounded like it was from experience, because this guy like, "Oh, how do I get past this? How do I fix it?" But he's not listening. He just talking just to be talking. He ain't trying to look for no advice. He just want to be whining, and I can't stand that. Anyway, but this is the thing, and that's why he was like, "This is the things that happen when you're an absentee father." I ain't gonna keep talking about this because that dude getting on my nerves, and he don't deserve that much. Yeah. Okay. Next scene. So Nell goes to visit Mel in her little backyard oasis to talk about the situation between the husband and the kids. She went to tell her about how the kids, um, they were having a meeting to set boundaries, this and this and this and this and this and this. I think that Nell does not understand that setting boundaries go in both directions. So if you say, listen, well, I don't want y'all to borrow no more money from me. And this is the thing I need you to understand because it's bothering me. Why y'all having a conversation? They're like, hey, also just don't talk to us like we are trash on the street. And she don't like that. She don't like not being in control. We can tell. It's okay now. It's all right. Be out of control for a minute. Let somebody else be in control. Anyway, she said the husband and the kids turned on her. And she was like, well, what you mean by that? And she was like, well, we were talking about setting boundaries and loaning out money, and the kids was talking about going to therapy. And then Mel was like, well, what's wrong with that? And she said, well, it hurt my feelings because I don't need therapy. I just need my money back. And Melody had to have a little bit of a conversation with her because she's like, look, you know, there are times when, because she was like, well, I just be getting pissed off and everything. And Melody is like, she has been on the receiving end of that pissed offness. And sometimes when they have a conversation, she can tell that her emotional thermometer is up. And Nell is all like, well, yeah, because I'm pissed and everything. I'm just gonna say, well, I'm gonna say, girl, calm that down. She even mentioned she couldn't pass a physical because of the level of pissed that she becomes. So she definitely needs some tools to help her cope better with everything that's going on with her. So she lets her know that in the Black community, and they talk about this, and I think this is a good conversation to have. Black folks, I'm a Black folk, we tend to shy away from therapy, even though a lot of us need it, especially like the older generation, because Nell is in her 50s and they always think something wrong with it, having a therapist, um, Ain't nothing wrong with me. I ain't sick. I ain't mad about nothing. I'm not depressed. They come up with all these reasons why they don't need a therapist. And Mel is like, well, younger generation, we just kind of more open to it. Um, and so I agree with that. Sometimes you may not have an issue per se, but sometimes you need a little maintenance. Just like if you were going for your annual physical, you don't necessarily go because something's wrong. You're going for a checkup to just make sure everything is in place and everything's running the way it should. And now if something is uncovered and there's something that you need to do a little work on, then yeah, do a little work on it. But you got to stop being afraid of taking care of your mental health, because she keeps saying, well, I know how to take care of myself, but she doesn't. It's clear that the boundaries, of course, boundaries are set for you. Um, you have to make sure you set the boundaries. You say them out loud, but you have to enforce the boundaries you set. And I just feel like she has a bit of a problem setting boundaries. But it's your kids, and so all the times it ain't gonna be what it is, because it's your kids and you want to make sure they're okay. Especially your adult kids, even though they're adults, they still your kids, and you really want to make sure that they're gonna be okay. And that's okay. But this is a good time to address how it's affecting you. Anyway, over at Chris and Nell's house, the kids gathered along with them to see Dr. Francis. They're kind of waiting on his arrival. Kids look scared, don't they? They're trying to get their game plan together. They like, I'm nervous, but they said they're gonna leave everything on the table. They just look scared to me. It look like one of them might need to go pee first. I don't know. Um, and Chris and Nell are talking, you know, and Nell is like, the problem with Chris is that he tends to play the good cop, and I got to be the bad cop a lot of times. And they need to address that. Now, here's the thing. I do think they need to address that she always has to be the one that is deemed as the mean one or the harsh one, when they can go behind her back and talk to him. And I think that's fine, but just handle all of it, Chris. Just handle all of it. If y'all gonna loan them the money, then it need to come from you and not her. Anyway, Dr. Francis come in just cheesing and grinning. How y'all doing today? All right. He goes straight into work. So she's like, y'all just trying to use reverse psychology on me, and it ain't gonna work. So she lets him know again she is here to set boundaries. And maybe her personality is too strong. But there's some things they really need to handle. She feels like the kids don't listen to her. And she feel like sometimes her husband don't listen either. And so Dr. Francis is acknowledging that there's a lot of passion with what she's saying. And but that's just something that everyone needs to work on. And one of the things that, they have to acknowledge is it's all great to be there talking about money, but really their problem is communication. And there's a breakdown in communication. So he asked them, what's the difference between mom saying something and dad saying something? Well, as they're talking, it starts with Lance, and he was like, when you talk to her, you know, she don't let you finish a sentence, a thought or anything. Dad lets you finish a thought. So she jumped straight into, well, y'all just don't, you know what? If y'all would just do what I said in the first place, then it wouldn't come to this. But we all have lived a life to know that sometimes lessons are a little bit more expensive than they need to be. Sometimes you listen to the advice, and sometimes you have to learn through experience. And that's just what it is. And I think her problem is she gets disappointed and stressed out. And so she lets everything bubble up, and she just doesn't have good skills in place and good tools in place so that this won't happen. Because you can say no without cussing them out, but she ain't going to. Um, so one thing that Dr. Francis points out is that, he has 3 children with his wife. And one thing that they have noticed is that sometimes the kids come to one parent for one type of emotional validation, and they may go to another parent for a different type of emotional validation. It doesn't mean one parent is better than the other. It's just that you need that parent for what you need them for. So I think that was good for him to have that conversation like, hey, sometimes, you know, my daughter might go to my wife for this, may come to me for that, but we're going to talk anyway. So it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, we're going to talk and we're going to make a decision on what to do. And I think that that's something that she has to learn that maybe because of how caustic she may come off, that they just feel more comfortable talking to Chris. And I'm saying, let them do it. And then you ain't got to worry about it because then that's his cross to bear, not yours. Um, so she constantly keeps saying, y'all need Dr. Francis, not me. And so he tells her, like you actually do have the capacity to listen when you want to. And so the kid thing he's wanting her to get is that, yes, the money thing, they need to pay you back your money, but mainly y'all really need to work on communication and you need to have something positive to say to your kids. So he has her go down the line and talk to each of those kids and tell them something, basically something positive. And you can definitely see that there is love between her and those kids and everything. They all tearing up and everything, but she gonna have to learn how to soften up, and that way she can have a closer bond with them. But he did tell her, cussing them out ain't the answer. Y'all gonna have to find another way to communicate. Um, and let this be the beginning of y'all changing the way y'all do this. So she was grateful, for what he said. And I saw she said, I got it. I got it. So she did understand it. Maybe she is a little rough and maybe she needs to calm down. I know some of us are out there a little rough with our kids and we need to calm down. Let's do that, y'all. Anyway, in the next scene, Trisha, look how nice she looks in that picture. You know what I noticed? That when people drop the dead weight of a relationship, they often look really good. And she's dropped that relationship dead weight and has picked up a new positive relationship. She just looks good, looks happy. Anyway, let me keep going. So she's meeting with Marquez in a neutral location because she ain't finna play with him. So they talking about filing for divorce. And I see why she didn't want to deal with him as far as talking about filing for divorce because he gonna do everything but talk about that. Anyway, y'all, let's wrap this up. All right, so he wanted to talk about, how Ken makes him feel and everything. We not here for your feelings, really. We're not. Anyway, and she reminds him, why he feeling all disrespected because Ken is, um, as he say, waiting in the wings for her. She reminds him that when she lost her parents and was going through the loss of her sister, the person that she wanted the most to be there as her support system wasn't there. That was him. He checked out. And she still had to move forward with taking care of the home, working, making sure everything is still in place, like still functioning on a daily basis. Even if she wasn't really mentally ready to do that, she just had to do it because you know what? She got kids. And he just decided to not be there. But he continued to talk about how he was affected. You know, he wants, I think Marceau has said he wants the accountability for leaving, but not what happened in the aftermath of all that. I think that's right. He just don't want to be accountable for nothing though. Now Marceau has said he is kind of like the Melody and Martell situation. I think these situations are way different. I just think they're way different. Um I think if we wanted to call everybody a narcissist, which I know everybody does, this is a different. He's kind of on the passive aggressive side. He's on the whiny side. He's the type of guy that will not yell at you, but he's gonna continue to complain and whine until you give him what he wants, and that's still just as toxic and abusive as someone that yells. Anyway, she said we outgrew each other. I think that's not true. I think she outgrew him. I don't think he's grown, which is why they're they're growing apart because I don't think that he was able to keep up with her growth. Anyway, he's saying Ken left messages on her IG when they were long, and she was like, "Hey, wait a minute, we was separated when all this stuff happened." He's blaming Ken for his daughter not speaking to him. Um, and she said, "No, that's not true. You need to talk to your daughter to see why she's not talking to you." So everything that he's saying, he want to blame everybody but himself. He just a martyr. She says they were cordial until she and Ken got together. So he ain't happy because he expected her life to fall apart when he left and it didn't happen. And now he's falling apart and she's moving on with her life and she's rebuilding and she's with someone that's supportive and taking care of her and the kids, and they seem to be happy without him, and that's what he cannot stand, honey. He can't stand it. Anyway, he said, "We still married." And she said, "You know what? And that's why we here today. We need to talk about getting that ink on the paper." And you could tell he was like, "Ugh." He mad because he and Ken, now he like, "We ain't never really get to talk, so I need to talk to him, but I'm gonna talk to him without the testosterone and without all of the muscles and stuff and all." Boy, say you intimidated. Just say you intimidated. It's okay. We all see it. And she said, Ken's the biggest teddy bear until you push him. And so he said, "Well, we gonna go on and move forward with the filing." And she like, "Yeah, that's what we gonna do." Then he gonna say, "You gonna pay for half the filing fee?" Sir, go to hell. She said, "Sure, can I pay for it?" Because we all said, "Girl, we tired of him. One episode and I'm tired of him." And this is where the end of the episode happened. And I just think this was a very much needed episode. I think that more conversation needs to happen when we're talking about the background for the new people. We need to know why and how we got to where they are. And, I think that, um, this is a good situation to see family therapy happen. Um, Dr. Francis just need to sit down with everybody and have a conversation with them. I think that they just all need to chill out for a second, and it's just time for us to actually have episodes that are fruitful. Anyway, as always, thank you all so much for tuning in. Please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments, and I would be so honored if you would support my channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing this review. And guess what, y'all? I'm going to see y'all in the next video. Bye.